It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. Folks, I'm not going to try to make this video too long, but I got to talk about Konica some more because this story is so fluid. You know, this is why I like video. This is why the end of the day with Ray, a video every day, for the most part every single day, ladies and gentlemen, bringing you current, up-to-date information. One thing I don't like about the magazines in the industry, let's be honest, a lot of these magazines, you know, they're doing the story like a month ago. You know, they call up the executive from the OEM and they say, hey, we want to ask you some questions. You put the answers together, give us the questions to ask if you want. And they orchestrate this fantastic article, which basically becomes a commercial for the OEM. And then they publish it, I don't know, 4 weeks later. What was interesting, I was reading an article yesterday in one of the magazines, and it was by Konica Minolta. And, you know, they were talking about all the wonderful things they're doing. They were talking about how it's not about A3 and A4. I'll get to that in a minute. But what was interesting about this article, my friends, nowhere in it, I think it was like 2 or 3 pages long, nowhere in this article did they mention that they were going to be selling off direct operations to dealers. Nowhere in the article did it say that. It was talking about how great everything is for the most part, like most of the OEMs do. So I have to ask the question, did they not know they were going to be selling off direct operations when the article was put together, what, 3 or 4 weeks ago? They just forgot to say that in the article. They weren't really ready to say that to the dealers yet. They weren't excited about what was going to happen. They knew there would be ramifications because no matter how you spin it, when you're exiting out of the marketplace with your direct operations that you spent 10 years building, that means it's not going so well or you wouldn't be exiting. And I assure you, the Konica Minolta's not getting a 10 times EBITDA. Okay? They're not even getting a 5 times EBITDA. They're probably coming up with some concoction, pay us a percentage of the revenue that's expected to come in. Folks, it'll be a really good deal for those dealers. And if you're one of those dealers that's getting some of that distribution, fantastic for you. Just do your due diligence. I had no qualms at all with you. I think it's fantastic. But here's the deal. I read another article and the writer asked a question, didn't ask the question of Konica, didn't ask the question of the dealer that was getting some of the Konica distribution, but asked the question of the reader. And the question was this: do you think the dealers that don't get the distribution from Konica will be as upset as the dealers that didn't get the distribution from Rico when they went around giving dealers distribution back in 2017? Remember those days? A lot of dealers were upset about that, and I imagine there's going to be a whole lot of Konica dealers upset about this. Absolutely, they're going to be upset about this. And so today's episode, I want to give them some suggestions, some things they can do because they were scorned by Konica. These are reality conversations, folks. Just because nobody else wants to have them doesn't mean Ray, on the end of the day with Ray, is not going to have them. That's what I do. That's why people watch me, right? So ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, I have a slide here. Is Konica changing the dealer landscape? And how will the dealers respond? You got some out there in disbelief. They're like, huh, what do you mean? What do you mean you're not going to give me the distribution, Konica? Why are you selling it to them? I've been loyal to you for 30 or 40 years. Ladies and gentlemen, the battlefield for the scorned Konica dealer. We need a battle plan, right? So you're a dealer. You got another dealer in your marketplace that Konica just gave a bunch of distribution to at really good pricing, beefing that dealer up to be able to compete against you even more. Well, obviously, if that happens, you don't want to just, you know, what are you going to do? Call up Konica, thanks a lot for helping my competitor get even stronger to come after me even harder. I mean, you're not going to do that, right? So instead, what you got to do is you got to start figuring out your future and what OEM are you going to partner with. I mean, obviously, you know, it might be Konica. Maybe you still like them. Who knows? You might still like them. But folks, here's the deal. I'll tell all dealers. It's not about the people that work in these organizations at all. It's about the OEMs themselves. That's your partner. The OEM itself, that's a person. It's not about the temporary president or the temporary COO or the temporary CFO or the temporary dealer manager. Those are all just temporary human beings inside the OEM. The OEM is the person that you do business with. Remember that. So here's some things that I would do immediately if I was a scorned Konica dealer. I would stop all marketing for Konica immediately. I mean, if you have a sign in your building that says Konica Minolta, I would go out there with a ladder and rip it down. Sounds kind of harsh, but it's the truth. Why do you want to advertise Konica Minolta when Konica Minolta just gave another dealer in your town all this distribution, making them bigger and powerful, more better than you, right? So you're going to market Konica Minolta, and maybe they have a bigger sales force out there, and the customer might get confused. Oh yeah, I saw your sign on the highway. You see where I'm going with this? I wouldn't advertise them for them anymore. I just wouldn't do it. I'd rip the sign off the wall. Put your name up there. It's your business. Don't give Konica more money to beat you with, is the point. Don't give them more money to beat you with, okay? They've already decided that they like this person better than you. Focus on replacing all your Konica A3 with Lexmark A4. That's the goal, folks. Think about this. You're a Konica dealer in the marketplace. Konica decided that they didn't want to give you any distribution, so they gave it all to this other dealer in the marketplace, making them bigger and stronger to go after you even harder, right? That's what's going to happen. So you have all this Konica MIF A3. Go prove to Konica that the world is moving to A4. Call my friends at Lexmark and start selling A4 MFPs and replacing all those oversold and overspec'd A3 Konicas. Just do it. You see where this could go, folks? Think about it. What a great program in your marketplace. Let the dealer that got all this distribution from Konica, that's probably not very profitable at the end of the day. I'm sure it's probably not any home runs. We've seen some of the price structures that Konica went to market with, right? 0.003 and all this crazy nonsense. People reached out to me from my last video talking about some of the absurdities in the marketplace around pricing from OEMs in general. And so dealers, you're in a great position. Let the dealer that Konica gave all the distribution to make them bigger and more powerful to come after you even harder. Well, they're struggling and getting distracted from all this, putting new labels on all the machines and all the things that go with taking over distribution. Go into the marketplace and get rid of all those oversold, overspec'd A3 Konica Minoltas in your market and replace them with Lexmark A4s. Immediately stop buying all Konica A3 toner. This is a big one. I talked about it a little bit on my last video. Call Pollock and Pollock. Look, you've been buying 10 or 15% of your A3 toner from third party for a long time. We all been doing it. Come on, folks. It's not like you're not doing it. And it's working. It works just fine. The only reason you were giving Konica all the business is because you were trying to be loyal to them. So maybe one day, if they decided to give back some of their direct operations, they'd give you some of that business. That's what you were doing, right? Being loyal to them. Well, it turns out they gave all that business to another dealer in your town, making that dealer in your town bigger, more powerful to come after you even harder. So why would you want to buy toner from them? I sure wouldn't. I'd start switching all that toner, take all that money from them. So now think about what you've done in that marketplace. You stop buying their A3 equipment, you're replacing it with Lexmark A4, so now you're a customer-centric dealership right off the bat, right? You're focusing on the future. You stop buying all their toner, you're not giving them any of that money. When you replace all these A3 Konicas, you're not going to be buying parts, and we all know that A3 machines use all kinds of parts, right? I mean, parts, crazy parts. A4 MFPs, what do they got? Very few parts. It's a great opportunity for dealers that have been scorned by Konica. Just to switch from Konica and start selling A4 MFPs. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk a little bit more about something interesting in an article that I read. And this was the title of the article. It said, Bulletproof, all covered packaged approach positions Konica Minolta for 2021 success. And see, this is what happens when you put these articles together, you know, kind of ahead of time. Because I would have to ask a question. So I'm going to ask the question because I didn't see the question in this article. If all covered packaged approach positions Konica for success in 2021, what happened to 2020? I mean, they had all covered for 10 years, right? They've had all covered for 10 years. They've added security services, penetration testing. They've added all kinds of technology as a service platform programs, all this stuff they're calling it, right? They've had all this stuff for a decade or more. Well, you would think that during COVID, when everybody was moving to the cloud, when IT was really, really important, we saw, what, over 800 acquisitions in the IT space? We saw like 4, maybe in the imaging channel space. And now we'll be able to add some of these Konica Minoltas, selling off their direct operations to the dealers. We'll be able to add that number in there. We'll make it sound like it's a great big home run or something. Oh, people are investing in the channel again. It's exciting. No, this is divesting. See, when Konica sells off its direct operations, that's not investments. That's not an investment by anybody. It's a de-investment. And private equity and the people that understand business realize that real quick. And so, ladies and gentlemen, where was the success in 2020? Because you wouldn't have to be divesting yourself of direct operations if you were knocking it out of the park with all covered. I don't know why we don't ask this question of them more often. What happened in 2020 after all Konica has had all covered for over a decade is the question they should be answering. And here's another question. What is different now? It's different now because you divested yourself of a bunch of direct operations? What does that mean? You got more money, you got more focus, those offices weren't profitable. Another reason why dealers need to do due diligence when they get them. Just some things to think about, folks. But here's what happens. Here's what happens when OEMs find themselves in precarious situations. They try to come up with all the distractions around the real story. And these distractions are crazy because we hear them all the time. I'm going to talk about some of these distractions. Some of these distractions were in an article I read. Someone says, it's not about A3 or A4. I love when they say that. We hear that quite a bit. You'll see that in some of my comments. Ray, it's not about A3 or A4. It's about true value to the customer. We sell the customer what they need. Blah, blah, blah. It's about A3 and A4. And it is absolutely about A3 and A4 when you're an OEM. And ladies and gentlemen, here's the reality. What would be different with Konica if 85% of their A3s were replaced with A4? That's the question. What would be different? How much money would they lose? What would their revenue drop to? How would their salespeople make money selling A4 when it's a third of the cost of A3? You see, they want to distract you and make it about some fictitious nonsense about no one's going to buy printers. People need to do 11 by 17. Of course they need to do 11 by 17, but 85% of every single A3 in the marketplace, I've been saying this for 2.5 years, could easily be an A4. And because it could easily be an A4, the only question the imaging channel needs to ask itself is this. Who's going to make it easier for the end user to get the A4? The document imaging channel or outsiders? A4 is a paper size. If true, it would have happened 10 years ago was another argument. A4 is only a paper size. If this was true about A4, then it would have happened 10 years ago. Well, let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, especially senior executives inside the document imaging channel. It has happened 10 years ago. It happened 10 years ago. You just weren't paying attention. Our industry has had outsiders selling its customers A4 printers and A4 MFPs for a decade plus without the permission of the document imaging channel, without its permission, been selling them for over a decade. They're buying them on Amazon. They're buying them through CDW. They're buying them through tech, huge IT services organizations. Individuals are buying them on their own without any permission from the document imaging channel. HP going out there selling all your customers subscription print for their houses without the document imaging channel. So to say that it would have happened 10 years ago, it's not really the right thing to say. What you need to say is that it has happened 10 years ago. What are you going to do about it today? Because, ladies and gentlemen, here's the deal. When will these outsiders that have been selling A4 print devices, the smaller of the A4, for over a decade, to your own customers, when are they going to start selling A4 MFPs to replace the oversold and overspec'd A3s? When are they going to start doing it? That's the only question to answer. And if you believe they're never going to be doing it, you're naive. If you believe that, no, we'll always be able to do exactly what we're doing. Folks, these are crazy things to think about. And it's not going to help you move the needle. Here's another thing. Another comment made. Print has declined and will never go down to zero. Well, obviously, print's not going to go to zero. You see, this is the stupidest distraction of all. People will watch my videos and they'll try to translate it into saying, Ray's saying that no one's going to print. Ray's all about doom or gloom. No, Ray's about telling you the damn realities in the marketplace, which, by the way, folks, those of you who've been watching me for like the last 3 years, a lot of the stuff I say comes true. Who was the one that said Konica would get rid of their direct operations? Who was the one, folks? I said that like almost a year ago, and I was talking about Xerox. What a great deal that would have been for Xerox to do it. You know, if they would have done a deal with Xerox the way I described, they probably would have got a multiple of EBITDA. They probably wouldn't be just selling it for what's out in the marketplace at some ridiculously low price. But I was talking about it when no one else was. And I'm not doing that to toot my own horn. I'm doing that because it's frustrating when I listen to these distractions. It's frustrating when people pick and choose what they want to hear. The doom and gloom of our industry is status quo. The doom and gloom of our industry is executives that are insecure of their place in the future, so they try to hang on to yesterday and drag it to the future. That's not going to help us move the needle. That's not going to help us change the game. It's not a doom and gloom because people will go back to the office, was also in this article. It's not doom and gloom, Ray, because people will go back in the office. Okay, here's the deal. I've been saying this now for this. If I have to say this again, I'm going to just go crazy. It doesn't matter when people go back to the office. It doesn't matter how many people go back to the office. What matters is the business processes for business print are changing. Whether you're in the damn office, whether you're working at home, whether you're working at Starbucks, or whether you're working on a beach in Cancun, the business you work for is going to change its processes to eliminate as much print and scanning as possible. That's what this is about. It has nothing to do with people storming back into the office and all of a sudden they're going to run down the hallway, turn on these big giant machines and start printing all kinds of stuff they didn't print all year. Remember the stupid video I did making fun of this? It was a satire, folks. I wasn't telling you the truth then. It was a satire. I think some of y'all believed it. That all these workers in their houses are putting lists together of all the stuff they got to print and copy. They got boxes in their living rooms full of documents that they got to scan in. That's not true. I was making that up. It was sarcasm. Remember, it doesn't matter how many people go back to the office. What matters is the business processes. The business processes of about 85 to 90% of your customers are going to change so damn drastically, reducing the print volume to take you out of the comfort of your circumstances. That's what this is about. So you can spin it any way you want. You can try to make it about A3, A4. You can come up with all these crazy arguments all you want. But the bottom line is we all know that this market is shifting from A3 to A4 MFPs. Don't let anybody distract you from that. We all know that you have to diversify, and it's not just about collecting companies. It's about actually delivering that diversification into the marketplace so that you can profit from it. And so your customers can benefit from it. So your business will grow and grow in a different direction from just a print-based business. That's what this is all about, folks. That's my mission in life. So when I talk about A3 from A4, it's about selling the customer what they need and then exploring other opportunities in that account to broaden your deliverable. That's what this is all about. Don't let anybody fool you. No matter how articulate they are, no matter what magazine you find them in, our industry is in the biggest disruption in its history. And if we don't face that reality, well, those outsiders that have been selling A4 for over 10 years to the industry's customers are going to come and take away your great relationships by delivering a better experience. I hope this helped my friends understand what to do if you're one of the scorned Konica dealers that didn't get the distribution because they gave it to somebody else in your marketplace, making them bigger and faster and stronger to beat you better. I like to say that because I want you to sink that in your head. That is some kind of doom and gloom, right? Don't let your competitor, who got a bunch of distribution from an OEM, come and wipe you off the planet. Nothing focuses the mind better than a competitor that wants to wipe you off the planet. That's a great quote from an ex-president of PepsiCo. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to end my time like I always do. Status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo, and I'll see y'all.